So this is a Dharma talk, but it's more of my remembrance of a koan. And just to give you some context, it's not meant to be didactic. It's not meant to teach. It's just my personal experience. I have two reflections on Zhaozhou's dog. So Zhaozhou's dog, case number one in the Wumen, the gateless gate, and case number 18 in the Shoyu-Ruku, the Book of Serenity. Peter called me on the phone and asked me to do a talk on a Zen literary topic. And I thought about it for a second and I asked if I could do a talk on a koan. And Peter replied yes. It was a brief conversation. And I began to think about which koan I could speak about. And more than that, I wanted to speak about a koan meaningfully. So I went to sleep that night and began to dream about a sesshin that took place over 20 years ago at the Santa Monica Zen Center. And the dream was vivid and brought back memories. I had not thought of the events of that sesshin in countless years. And I remember it was a 5-day sesshin. I was a novice at this time. And I recall that I had just started my Dharmakaya koans, like show me Mount Fuji in the palm of your hand. What is the sound of one hand clapping and empty-handed yet holding a hoe? But this sesshin on the fourth day took a turn in the afternoon. Dharma talk. Yoshin Sensei presented the case of Zhaozhou's dog. And although I had heard of the koan, does a dog have Buddha nature, I had never heard it presented with the case and the commentary. I recall being moved by the language. Even today, when I read the commentary, I am viscerally struck by Master Wumen's words. If you really want to pass this barrier, you should feel like drinking a hot iron ball that you can neither swallow nor spit out. Little did I know how prescient these words were. As I heard the commentary, the hook was set and the molten iron ball lodged firmly in my throat. I was now determined to solve this koan. In the afternoon and into the evening, the Sangha sat zazen and pondered this single koan. Looking back, I am embarrassed at how simple I believe this koan to be. I feel like a fool thinking I could enter the gateless gate so easily. Then, after we had sat for hours, right before Kinyan, after the sun had set, Yoshin Sensei presented the words, almost shouting. It was posed as a question and a command. Has a dog Buddha nature or not? Joshu answered, Mu. Slow Kinyan began, and the Sangha was softly chanting Mu. The Mukugyo kept pace, as this was Maizumi Roshi's lineage, and the Rinzai style of fast Kinyan was vigorous. However, on this night, the pace was more rapid than usual. The cadence was aggressive and primal. The chanting got louder. A taiko drum joined the chanting. Moo, moo, moo. My mind was consumed with moo. Yet at the same time, a part of myself did not want to succumb. And I questioned this practice. This questioning eventually just gave way to moo, nothing. Yoshin began taking students into Dokusan at a rapid pace, and the bell kept ringing. Students lined up repeatedly. I lined up numerous times and did not pass the koan on that night. In remembering that session, I'm struck by how naive I was, like a lamb to slaughter, like a toddler reading Tolstoy. I was so out of my depth. I was a fool thinking I could meet Joshu face to face in my nascent practice. The next day, I was called into Dokusan. Somehow, I did pass the koan, but I will tell you that knowing what I know and do not know now, I did not pass Joshu's koan. Nevertheless, I may have shown Yoshin that I caught a glimpse of the ox's tail, but the hook was firmly attached, and little did I know how deep the ocean was. I remember Yoshin sitting there in the Dokusan room with his Cheshire cat grin, smirking at me. Koans are funny. They can't be intellectualized. And in my experience, a koan can only be actualized in the moment. That moment is fleeting and cannot be retained and must be reproduced organically and authentically time and time again. As I cogitate on this koan, I am struck by the resilience of my small mind and its ongoing opacity and inability to access the gateless gate and come into nothingness. This koan, seemingly about nothing, was about everything. As Master Wumen said, you must work through every bone in your body, through every pore in your skin, filled with this question: what is Mu? Still to this day, I am vexed by this question. I still have a visceral reaction to this koan on a cellular level. My skin burns and my heart and mind ache to answer Joshu's question. In Billy Preston's song, Nothing for Nothing, the lyrics go, you have to have something if you want to be with me. So if Joshu wrote these lyrics, I believe he would say nothing for nothing leaves nothing. You have to have nothing if you want to sit zazen with me. Peter has spoken of form is emptiness, emptiness is form, emptiness is emptiness, and form is form, and then there is beyond form and emptiness. Mu somehow guides me to beyond form and emptiness. That unity, that oneness that doesn't live in my mind, that resides hidden in my breath. It is emptiness beyond emptiness, intimately stated in the Enso. It is emptiness beyond emptiness and form that is beyond my words and understanding. Joni Mitchell wrote in the song Woodstock, we are stardust, we are golden, we are a billion-year-old carbon. This is Mu too. Mu, Mu, Mu lives in my breath. Certainly Mu is not in my mind. Or is it? Mu is not the paradox of no, yes and no. Mu is apparently more and less than nothingness, and language transgresses the mere notion of Mu. If I sink my breath deep into my belly, into my hara, into the second chakra, the Tantien. In Taoism, the Tantien is the energetic core of the body and the place where our physical and spiritual bodies meet. I can feel an energetic connection to something, everything and nothing. And somehow I feel a oneness with Mu. When I sit with the koan Mu, if I am fortunate, my infrequent experience is that thoughts dissipate, concepts deconstruct, and language evaporates. All I am left with is this Mu. It is a fleeting glimpse of the ox's tail, or can I embody the ox itself? This connection to everything, this divine nothingness, it's just Mu. As I chant Mu and boil my cells in the pursuit of Mu, turning bones to glue, breath to fire, looking for a glimpse of that ox's tail again. As soon as I see that ox, I have transgressed. Of course, if there is no I, there is no transgression. Does a dog have Buddha nature? Yes. Ah, now I have transgressed. No? Now I have transgressed yet again. Does a dog have Buddha nature? Now I've said too much. That is my experience as and with Mu.
Thank you, Spencer. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Chris?
So, Mu?
Pretty much.
All right, that was my question.
Joe? Jane?
You're muted, Joe. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Beautiful talk. Very powerful. I want to ask, you had the expression, there's form is emptiness, emptiness form is form, emptiness is emptiness, and there's beyond form and emptiness, which really struck me. And so somehow, can you enlarge on that in some way? There are no words, but it would help me. Thank you.
So I was trying to use the talk as a pointer to beyond form and emptiness, which somehow organically and maybe innately I see as Mu. And I think I feel it when I say it. If I'm lucky enough, maybe I've answered that koan. But I feel like I'm at that space answering that definition of beyond form and emptiness, but maybe encompassing all the aforementioned of form is emptiness, emptiness is form is form, and emptiness is emptiness. But I feel really aligned with beyond form and emptiness.
Great, that's beautiful. It would naturally include all of that. Is then Mu is beyond form and emptiness the Enzo in the Oxfording pictures?
I don't know. I saw it as everything but the Enso in the Oxfording pictures.
Awesome. Well, isn't it on the side of form?
I don't know. I mean, that's sort of how I aligned with it and integrated it. I didn't see it as the enso. I felt it was the space at the top of the enso.
I love it. I can't figure it out either. To be continued.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jane?
Spencer, you said as you contemplated the koan, your breath turned to fire, your bones turned to glue. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think the koan is simple. The commentary is, profound to me. And, when I heard those words, there's strong language, but here I am talking about it probably 23 years later, um, dreaming about it. So yeah, I'm real passionate about it. I don't, it's beyond explanation, but it's always in my query. So, that's, turned me to a molten form in pursuit of this answer.
A molten form.
Rachel?
Thank you, Spencer, very much for the talk. And I'm not playing with words. I really mean my question, even if it's not just, I'm just not picking a garbly word. When, although it's over a long period of time, when you're contemplating Mu, or when Mu is contemplating you, is it sustenance or rapacious, or appetite? Do you know what I mean? Is that contemplate, or both? There's a, do you know what I mean? Like sustaining or devouring?
I think at first it was devouring, and I think it's sustaining in terms of the longevity of my practice. But honestly, all of that has dropped away over time. But every time I hear it, and when I was actually reading it and reading new commentaries on that koan, it's very interesting to me, and it is sustaining and nurturing to me to read different perspectives on it, knowing that I have my own take on it, which I really can't express. Um, and I think picking and choosing our words very carefully is the only way that I could explain it. I can't, I probably changed a lot of pronouns in my Dharma talk just because of my relation to it as is contextually. And, it's just one of those weird things that you work with, right? So I think I think I'm more mature. I don't think I'm there yet, but I think I'm more mature in my searching.
Thank you. It, your response helps. Thank you.
Mark, were you raising your hand just now?
Oh, I was thinking of raising my hand, but I was just pushing my glasses up on my head. But if no one has a question, I will come up with a question. Okay. A little bit here. Spencer, that was wonderful. that I feel very satisfied in hearing that. And all the questions are in a really high order. And that's really reflects on how wonderful this talk is. For Moo, only two little letters mean so much of undefinableness. Would it be better represented as just a question mark?
Why not? I mean, it's really nothing. It's not even a question mark, right? So in my mind, it's not even that. It's just the query onto the blank canvas, right?
So it's the void, and yet it's not the void. It's even more than the void.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like the whole thing that is held together by its everythingness and its absurdness?
Yeah.
Absurdity possible for us to grasp?
Yeah. That's why there's two answers to the koan, and neither of them are right. And they're both transgressions, because as soon as you start going down either path, you're trapped.
So, okay, I'm going to ask you this, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I would think it's Zhaozhau's dog, right? Is it Zhaozhau's dog, if I got that right? Yes, okay. I think the appropriate answer would be, does he have, and the question of does a dog have Buddhist nature is rough. And I get that.
That's always the first answer, and everyone gets the bell rung on them, right? So
Hey, ring the bell.
Mitch?
Yeah, Mitch.
my twin now.
Yeah.
Trying to get trying to get unmuted. Thank you, Spencer. I've never done koan training, so I'm coming at it from a total point of ignorance. But you know, just like beyond form and emptiness, Mu is this something that's like beyond searching? I mean, isn't part of a koan, again, I've never done any koan training, isn't it to tie your intellect up so much that it sort of kind of locks, you know, it freezes, and you can go beyond it? So beyond form and emptiness is there's just beyond searching?
Yeah, it's sort of like your
Will you
brakes
lock
locked
yourself
up.
up?
Your brakes locked up. You didn't have your seatbelt on. You flew through the windshield, and you landed on your head, and your brain splattered on the concrete, and now you can begin. So it's just meant to defeat you to the point that you give up on context and language. And, you know, ultimately, you know, what I was alluding to was more of a visceral relationship to it than a language, you know, an expression of it. And you know, I think it takes time to do that. And I think that when I was presenting it, it was more about attainment. And for me, it's just more about sitting now. So
So there's, okay, okay, thank you.
Donna?
yep, the pretty lady in the top row. Yeah.
Mike's muted. Close.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, Nancy.
Okay. actually, this is just more commentary. And, Spencer, you've been my, partner in this journey. And just like Mitch, I haven't done any koan training. So, you're very intellectual, right? In when you give these talks. So I, for one, appreciate when you weave in these beautiful lyrics. So it helps me to understand when you talk about these koans, because sometimes it just kind of goes over my head and I'm like, what? So for me, when you weave in these lyrics, it helps me to understand what you're talking about, and I'm not so lost, right? When you start really going into what the koan is, right? And so I just, I just wanted to say that that helps me to understand more of like the koans, right? Because that's not what I've even delved into at all in my journey, right? In this training, in my practice. So
Yeah. Well, the lyrics I put in there sort of arose organically with the koan. So, even Billy Preston, I just start singing it differently. So,
oh, you sing? Just kidding.
right. Well, you wouldn't want to hear it, but and those Joni Mitchell lyrics, I always just think, yeah, that's it, but I don't know why, right? So I think that we all are connected in that way, but we don't understand it, just like beyond form and emptiness, but we're all one, right? And it's that common bond and that common understanding. And for me, those songs just co-originate with the koan move. So anyway, thanks for being my partner.
Spencer, what happened to the yes?
There is yes and there is no. They're both the same answer, right? So, I think, yeah, one's a Soto answer, one's a Rinzai answer, but they're both meaningless answers. They're both transgressions. But there's definitely specific commentary on each one from that each perspective, which is fascinating. But I think just going even beyond that is where I tried to be with at least my reflection on it today.
Thank you. Thank you. It was very nice. Anybody else? It was very, very, very powerful talk. And
Yeah.
we appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, Joe.
Hi, really terrific. So this isn't really my comment, but it's Daido Roshi. Daido, I thought I'd share it because this is what he said about Mu at one point, and it really helped me at that time sort of understand the experiential state of working on Mu. Anyway, here's his thing. He said, imagine a Catholic in the 18th century, a Catholic missionary priest in the Philippines. And he does his thing and he's very devout, but a thought arises increasingly in his mind. Does God exist? And it really obsesses him. And finally, he goes through all the bureaucracy and gets permission to make a trip to Rome, like months and months on a sailing ship and the whole thing. And he gets there and he gets through the entire Vatican bureaucracy to have a private audience with the Pope. And he asks the Pope, does God exist? And the Pope says, no. And so I'll leave you with that. But I thought it was very cute, and it helped me.
Thank you. You know, somehow I knew the punchline as soon as you began saying it.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
So it was really apropos. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Are we having the full moon ceremony today, Chris?
Yeah, so I was
Okay.
actually about to start lighting the
Okay,
charcoal.
okay, yeah, time to do that then. Yeah.